が自由だ。
Hello people, I'm Matt. I'm your host of World Between Worlds, where we talk everything from Star Wars, anime, Legos, video games, WWE, superheroes, and Disney. Today I'm joined by the resident Disney connoisseur, Ava. Ava, tell the viewer a little bit about yourself.
Hi Matt, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Well, I'm a very avid Disney goer. Quite frequently. I'll actually be there in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I have a good fair share of knowledge of Disney and Disney World, and I've also been to the other parks.
I see. Yeah, I had to bring in the expert.
Hopefully some more soon.
Good. Yeah, I had to bring in the expert, so
Yeah.
she kind of help me out here.
Absolutely.
So, today's topic is going to be about villains. Okay, who's your favorite villain out of all of Disney?
It's a great question. I really like Dr. Facilier, just because he's played by Keith David, and he has a special place in my heart from all the movies and shows that he's been in, specifically The Cat and Coraline.
I see.
Big Coraline nerd.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think one that legit scared me as a kid and like made me almost not want to have dogs was Cruella de Vil from 101
Understandable.
Dalmatians.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I see that.
Okay,
Good choice.
Let's jump right into it here. Okay, so for years, I know Disney fans have been asking like the same type of question. When will the villains finally get their own land? Because, you know, in Magic Kingdom, you have all the good people.
Yep.
You don't have a lot of villains kind of walking around. You do, but you don't, you know? Yes. So at the 2024 D23 Expo, Disney finally answered that question with the announcement of a massive new expansion coming to Magic Kingdom. And it's called Villains Land, and it's shaping up to be one of the most ambitious theme park projects Disney has ever attempted. Since that announcement, things have kind of changed here and there. We're going to break down kind of everything we know about Villains Land, including where it's being built, what rides could be coming, what villains could appear, how the plans are changing, and when the land might finally be open.
Villains Land was revealed at the 2024 D23 Expo in California, which is Disney's biggest fan convention that they always have. But during that presentation, Disney confirmed that the land would be built at Walt Disney World as an extension to Magic Kingdom. The land would be located behind Frontierland, expanding the whole park into a new area. Yeah, it's going to be one of the largest expansions in Magic Kingdom history. The last one being Fantasyland, which was when they redid that and they built all of, the new Belle's Castle and Little Mermaid and that whole new Dumbo area. So the original concept art showed a dark and dramatic environment filled with twisted thorns, a forest, jagged mountains, gothic castles, and just overall villain-themed architecture. The idea was simple but exciting for all the fans.
That was the theme of the land, the story that they were trying to build. Because I feel like park has a story that they're trying to tell.
Yes.
Or each like little sect of the park is like trying to tell a story, right?
Absolutely.
And so for this new one, they were kind of like in this alternate universe that we brought all the villains together. Maybe they won in their timeline, and now they have this like little utopian or dystopian village or area that they could all thrive in. Although Disney hasn't confirmed the final lineup of the villains included, the concept art revealed a collection of iconic villains including Maleficent, Hades, Ursula, Cruella de Vil, Jafar, Captain Hook, the Evil Queen, Mother Gothel, Lady Tremaine, and the Queen of Hearts. This suggests that the land will more than likely be like a shared universe, kind of how we hinted at earlier, rather than just a land dedicated to one movie. So it's not like Toy Story Land, it's going to be all of the villains everywhere all at once.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have some roaming characters. That's the one thing that Magic Kingdom in Florida kind of struggles with, is all of their characters, besides like once in a while Peter Pan, are all stationed in a photo spot, unlike in Disneyland in California where they're just roaming around and people get to have conversations. So I'm hoping that sort of aspect gets brought to Disney World. That was the one thing I really appreciated when I went to Disneyland, is that characters were just out and about. They weren't set at a spot where you could only take a photo with them and have a certain amount of time. So Disney hasn't officially confirmed the whole ride lineups, but several major attractions are expected. One of them being the Maleficent mega attraction that they kind of introduced in the concept art originally. This could have been a roller coaster maybe not, but they are leaning towards an indoor ride, similar to the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Shanghai, which is awesome. It's similar to Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway in Hollywood Studios or in Disneyland, California, where you are on a magnetic trackless cart that fits about 8 people and lots of screens and effects and animatronics, all that. It's definitely a newer ride system that Disney's been experimenting with that has been honestly worth it. They did it with Rise of the Resistance as well and Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Yeah, they want this ride to be big and impressive, similar to Rise of the Resistance that we just talked about, and even Radiator Springs Racers, which is in California, another incredible ride.
According to some new reports, this ride, like I said, might have changed. So instead of a dark thrill ride, the coaster may now be themed to the movie Emperor's New Groove. So that would focus on Yzma and Kronk, who famously ride a roller coaster in the movie. So that kind of makes sense how they're tying that into there. The reason for the change is quite simple. Disney wants the rides and kind of overall the theme of the park to be more family friendly, which will allow the younger guests to ride it and increasing the overall capacity of the attraction. Because I know at least like other parks around the area, like Universal and the other like competing parks, are doing really well,
yes.
Right? And so Disney does, the one thing they don't want to do is plateau. Like they're still making millions and millions of dollars a year, but the one thing that they're trying to get their market up in is like people staying at parks longer, because that's a demographic that they look at. And one way to do that is to make a villain themed park that is more encompassing to like the whole family of all ages,
right? Not
just like the older teenage adult people who can ride rides because they're tall. Like now you're catering to like the actual 6-year-old people that are there, and so they're gonna be able to ride it and stay there for longer.
Another possible ride could be Ursula related. It's rumored to be another spinner style attraction similar to Dumbo and Aladdin's Flying Carpets. We did recently lose the Triceratops spin in Animal Kingdom and Dinosaur Land in general, but it does give guests and the younger ones an option to go on more rides, but I feel like already having 2 in the park, actually 3, Astro Orbiter. Do you think we need another one? I don't think so.
So that was rides and attractions. We're gonna move kind of into like the dining and entertainment type of thing. So obviously Villain's Land will also feature like villain specific restaurants, shops, and entertainment experiences, right? So one idea currently being discussed is a dinner show hosted by Hades, the god of the underworld from Hercules. The show would include characters like Pain and Panic and function as a large themed dining experience.
I know that they do really well with the dining themed experience that they have on the cruise lines. They have a Frozen one and they have a Tangled one, where while you are eating, there's a stage in the middle of the dining room as someone is performing, either retelling the story or telling it in a different way, and then having a moment where they walk through the dining room to greet the guests, talk to them, have a little bit of time like that. It would be cool if they started bringing that into the parks. We do have really good character dining options. One of the, higher demand ones being Cinderella's Royal Table in Magic Kingdom. But again, the princesses just walk around, and as you're eating, it'd be nice to have a show like they do on the cruise lines.
Disney's also expected to include interactive villain encounters throughout the land too, so kind of going off of like the California people walking around.
Yep.
They're gonna have villains walking around here too, so they can roam around the area, not just their specific one, but across the whole park, I guess, right? And what that'll do is it just creates a lot more immersive environment for people to kind of interact with as they go.
Yeah. We have something a little bit like that at Hollywood Studios and Galaxy's Edge, where Kylo Ren will come out on a little stage.
Yeah, that's right.
So that could be cool to incorporate into Villain's Land.
Yeah. In, Galaxy's Edge, they have all those shops and stuff that is Star Wars themed, and inside they have, like, obviously the merch and all the, like, little trinkets are sold everywhere, but you find, like, centralized Star Wars.
Yes.
So I'm kind of curious to see what the shops in the Villain's Land would look like. Obviously, they're going to be carrying all of the villains merch and stuff like that, and it's going to be a really easy way to kind of find your, like, favorite villain and get their merch instead of having to figure out what stores sell them and which don't. So another interesting detail that Disney Imagineers have reportedly been studying is like European architecture, and they literally got sent over there, from my understanding, and were told to like, hey, look at some cool buildings, find some inspiration, what works there and what can we bring back to the Disney park to keep it unique and to keep up with all the rival parks around. They could draw from real-world architecture to create immersive environments so that Villains Land could end up looking like a dark fantasy European kingdom ruled by the villains, which I think is a fantastic money-making idea.
Right. As we all know, Epcot is a wonderful place because it actually feels like you're there in certain parts, and they do a great job at all the little details, and that's something that I love when I go to Disney is I always notice the little stuff, and because I go so much, you would think that I would get bored and all these things, but every time I go there's always something new that I haven't seen. That's the one thing that I appreciate about Disney and all their Imagineers' hard work is that they pay a great amount of attention to detail.
For adults to go to Disney, we want to feel immersed. We want to feel like we're a kid again. We want to feel like they're there. That's why I love Galaxy's Edge so much, because I feel like I'm actually in Star Wars. And that as a kid, and even as an adult, that's the dream, And so, the more real-world applications that they can put in this, the better suited it's going to be for everyone to kind of enjoy themselves there.
Disney hasn't confirmed an official opening date yet, based on current development timelines, especially with the stuff that's happening in between Frontierland right now. Villains Land could open as early as 2029, but with some recent project redesigns and new ideas coming in and viewer feedback, it could possibly change the opening date for that. So the next thing is how this could change Halloween at Magic Kingdom. Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is one of the biggest parties they throw there, and personally one of my favorites. I have done all of their little after parties that they do there, and I'm personally a big Halloween fan. Love Christmas, just Halloween just has a better place in my heart. The Christmas party's awesome. It's a wonderful experience. It really does capture that nostalgic Christmas feeling that people really do love, but Halloween has a special place in my heart, especially because of The Nightmare Before Christmas. That is one of my favorite movies. You could play the movie with no audio and I'll read the entire script for you out loud. Villains Land coming could also add a huge new step when it comes to Halloween, whether it's special parades, extra stage shows, special meet and greets that even more of what they already have right now, and maybe even draw more guests to feel like they should spend the extra money and get that nighttime ticket. But the big thing that people want to go there for is to see characters and villains that you might not normally see there, and even characters that you do see frequently, but in a Halloween costume. So last year they had Stitch dressed up as Elvis, which was really cute. So
that's great.
Stuff like that you don't normally get to see. But again, all of these characters are located in a spot that you do have to wait pretty hefty lines for.
So this is kind of like the open-end part of it. We're kind of just discussing what we would like to see. This is all fantasy booking, kind of. So, one of my favorite villains is Professor Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective. I watched that movie on repeat as a kid, probably more times than The Lion King, not gonna lie. And there's just something so dark and he's just an old villain. And this Villain Land gives him an opportunity to shine, whereas normally he probably wouldn't be able to make it into the cut, in the cut of the characters walking around the park. Another thing I know we were discussing off camera was kind of like how the Disney villains could compare to their good people counterparts, not just in Villain Land, but if they leave Villain Land and go to the, their counterparts' place. So for example, Tiana's water slide, who's the villain?
Dr. Facilier. Love him, and he is definitely a huge fan favorite. So if they bring him towards Villains Land, that would be great, but if they have him migrate a little bit more west towards Tiana's Bayou Adventure, that would be honestly another great spot. He wasn't included in the ride, and originally in planning, people had lots of ideas to include him in. Disney decided to go with the fact of we're gonna have this ride go of what happens right after the movie. Great ride, it turned out wonderful, and people still miss their favorite villain, and it would be nice to see him around. Same with Gaston. He's a huge fan favorite in Disneyland California. Lots of funny little internet interviews with him. Could he be in Villains Land, or would they take him over and put him by the castle or by Belle's cottage or even his own tavern. He has a tavern there.
One thing for sure I'm excited to see is how they make it all look, like the immersive aspect of it. Again, I love Star Wars because I'm there. I want to be in Villains Land because I like villains. You know, simple as that. I really am excited to see what they put together here. Yeah, to kind of encapsulate it, Villains Land has the potential to become one of the most unique areas Disney has ever built. It is a darker world ruled by Disney's most iconic villains and something fans have been asking for decades. And if Disney delivers on the scale that they're promising, Villains Land could completely change the future of Magic Kingdom. But now, I want to know what you guys think. If you could add one villain to this land, which villain would you choose? Ava, any last little thoughts about this stuff before we wrap up?
Just excited to see where it takes us, and I'm excited for some new changes to Magic Kingdom.
Let's go. Thanks for watching.